years ago, right around this time, I was curled up in bed on the phone with Megan. Somehow, I had made it through to the second round of applications without a clue as to what a Morehead was. In the last few minutes of the call, I tried to tactfully figure out what exactly I had applied for. As Megan began to describe the freedom within the scholarship, I could no longer hide my surprise or enthusiasm. Wait, I thought, these people actually wanted to pay college students to do what they love? Now that was a community I wanted to be a part of. So here I am, fully embracing the Morehead's promise that I may spend these 4 years discovering what I love. More importantly, that I am able to challenge myself, to understand my convictions, cultivate my passions, and define success. As noted this weekend, it's not easy. We are a community of people who love to surround ourselves with brilliant minds and committed individuals who always appear to be fulfilling their calling. Now, mind you, all of these people think we're doing the exact same thing, but we choose to ignore that factor. I often joke that there are two types of Moreheads, those who are going to rule the world and those who are going to save the world. But in reality, we're all striving for the same thing, to find a way for our passions to positively impact the world around us. Only then can we be more. Only then can we lead extraordinary lives. I know we are all going to, so the question becomes how. Chuck recently shared with us current scholars an article from the New York Times by Cal Newport. He said, quote, "Passion is not something you follow. It's something that will follow you as long as you put in the hard work to become valuable to the world." I think this was supposed to be comforting, but I'm going to respectfully disagree. I consent with what the rest of the article has expressed. We all have many paths that we can choose from, all of which have the potential to make us happy, as long as we go into it with the right mindset. Where Newport tripped me up, however, was when he expressed that had he subscribed to the follow your passion doctrine in graduate school, he would have given up the minute that he felt insignificant and unhappy. I believe that is exactly where passion is supposed to come into play. If we are passionate about something, those hard moments are what's going to make us stronger. I personally entered Carolina without a clue as to what my passion was. Yes, something had gotten me here, but I wasn't quite sure what. This question, why did the Morehead-Cain choose me, has also been a recurring theme this weekend, and I think that Julie Hufker answered it perfectly yesterday. She said because someone, somewhere along the way, recognized our potential. This community is meant to provide us with the tools to uncover and foster that potential for ourselves. For me, most of these discoveries have occurred outside of the classroom. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that I'm disenchanted by my classes, it's simply that I haven't let my school get in the way of my education. All of the work I do in my class will only directly affect me, but what I do as a lifelong learner has the ability to make a greater impact. Gandhi once said, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So I've come to define success in my life through my interactions with other people. Let me paint a picture for you of some of those first interactions. Week 1 of school, I ran into an older scholar, Jason Dunn, who I recognized from my finals weekend. In true Morehead-Cain style, he enthusiastically described to me everything he was involved in on campus and invited me out to Hope Gardens. So that first Saturday, bright and early, I piled into a car full of complete strangers and drove out to this ambiguous garden where I was tasked with leading a large group of partied out fraternity brothers to weed an orchard and find the trees. While I was worried that I had maybe weeded out some of those trees, there was still some magic to that place that kept me going back. Some of it was just getting my hands dirty, but most of it was the people. After just a few weekends, I experienced a moment that to me was the epitome of Hope Gardens. Roger, a quiet, middle-aged man from the local homeless shelter, slowly began to ease out of his tough guy stance the longer his hands were immersed in the earth. We had just assigned the task of planting pansies to overly energetic elementary schoolers, and Roger was not having their disorganized planting pattern. So he knelt down to one of the pigtailed 7-year-old girls and began to describe to her how to dig a hole before planting in it. At first, I was terrified that his gruff voice and callous hands would scare her off, but she looked up into his softened gaze, and soon more and more kids surrounded Roger looking for their planting lesson. Together, Roger and several children filled an entire row with flowers. I caught myself making that unfair assumption. I had underestimated Roger's ability to reach these young gardeners, and I had feared that the children would not be willing to learn from him. Thankfully, they proved me incredibly wrong. HOPE, Homeless Outreach Poverty Eradication, is all about this, proving to ourselves and each other that the barriers of injustice in our society can be overcome. We just need to take the time to learn from each other. My time at the gardens has helped me recognize that everyone has some shared experience, even if it is just monotonous shoveling. I have been able to grow my love for conversation into the ability to ask for and share stories with just about anyone. I have increasingly begun to rely on my relationships within the HOPE community and feel blessed to have so quickly discovered a place on campus to positively change my outlook on the world. But running the gardens is not easy, and it's not always just fun. When it gets hard, however, giving up never even crosses my mind. Whether responding to one of our high school volunteers' emails or helping an underclassman plan their staff meeting, I always prioritize the gardens over my homework. Why? Because it's worth it. Because witnessing our participants' commitment to sustainable agriculture as a way to bring communities together, as a way to cross all sorts of perceived barriers, is empowering. I still can't quantify for you exactly what my passion is, but I can vividly describe what I am passionate about. Alum Jonathan Retford, maybe in the audience today, recently spoke on campus about finding your passion. I could not have been more excited. I was ready to go into that talk, absorb all of his words of wisdom, and come out the other side with a concrete example of what my passion was and what my career path was going to be. Ridiculous, I know. Instead, he reassured me that it's okay to do lots of different and very unrelated things, as long as our core, underlying principles drive everything we do, and that is passion. He challenged us to discover what really makes us tick, and to use that as a way to become useful. In order to get there, we have to start deciding now what kind of person we want to become. So maybe Newport had a point. Yes, everyone in this room could probably take any job, learn how to do it well, and become valuable to the world. But that's not the right message. Yesterday in the breakout session, we investigated what it means to have it all. What we really ended up talking about, though, was the burden that we, as Morehead-Cain scholars, create for ourselves. Our sense of obligation to the world to become world-changing leaders does not have to compromise our joy. In fact, we need to know what makes us happy, and we need to know what makes us tick in order to do anything productive. I can find almost anything interesting, as Jonathan Retford encouraged me to do, and I can get enraged over any injustice. But I am also acutely aware that my success will only be possible because of the individual successes of everyone around me, of everyone in this room. We can only impact the world, whether we are ruling it or saving it, by learning and working together. Thank you.